Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends, today, Saturday, July 1st, 2023, we hope to look at the Sevitabba. Sevitabba, that means, right? Sevitabba. Sutta, or to be cultivated and not to be cultivated, from the Majjhima nikaya, Sutta 114. Now, this translation is by Bhikkhu Bodhi. The word Sevitabba means associating. The Buddha gives a brief analysis of who should be associated with and who should not be associated with. Venerable Sariputta elaborates on the main themes that Buddha gives. And later, the Buddha approves of what the Venerable Sariputta explains. This sutta contains a deep analysis of human behavior, how the thoughts come about, and their consequences. The Buddha's final closing words are very significant, for they say that if we understand the meaning of the teaching, anyone, whether a Buddhist or not, will develop a positive mind, see reality, and benefit himself or herself and others and society at large. The Buddha gives 7 pairs of wholesome and unwholesome states that can be cultivated and developed for the well-being of a person or the undoing of a person. These manifest through bodily conduct, verbal conduct, mental conduct. The inclination of the mind, that means the arising of thought. Acquisition or gaining of perception. Acquisition or gaining of view. And acquisition or gaining of individuality or a sense of self. We'll discuss all those in detail. A person's conduct can be seen in 3 ways. One, that is by body, speech, and mind. These 3 are named doors, for we go through a door or come out, and by these doors, these doors that we talked about, body, speech, and mind, we communicate with oneself and others. According to the Buddha, there are 3 people in the world that can be associated with. First is the one not suitable to associate with. Second, one who is suitable to be associated with. Then 3, one who is suitable to be respected and honored and associate with and learn from. There may be one whose bodily conduct causes unwholesome states to increase and wholesome states to diminish. For example, by killing living beings. Now that doesn't mean only human beings, all beings, is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, and is merciless to living beings. She or he takes by theft what is not given, wealth and property of others in his or her area. She or he sexually abuses the opposite sex. Such a person is not suitable to associate with. What causes unwholesome states to diminish and wholesome states to increase? Instead of killing and having laid aside all weapons, becomes gentle, kind, and compassionate to all beings. That means all animals, even the environment, all beings, right? Instead of stealing, is generous and sharing what she or he has earned righteously. Abstains from misconduct in sexual pleasures. This is a person suitable to associate. Verbal misconduct is when one utters untruths when called as a witness, that is to get gain for himself or others. She or he speaks maliciously to divide people who are friendly and is offensive and gossips. Also uses harsh words and speaks at the wrong time, useless words different to the Dhamma and discipline. This kind of speech increases unwholesome states and diminish the wholesome. Whatever wholesomeness is there will get weakened. This person cannot be a good companion. The opposite is when a person abstains from false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, useless speech, and gossip. Talks gently, courteously, loving and pleasing words that are worth recording, reasonable, moderate, and beneficial. It's easy to get on with such a person, and one can even learn from this one. Mental conduct that causes unwholesome states to increase and wholesome states to diminish is when one is covetous towards others' property and wealth and longs to have them and even hopes the owners will be killed or somehow perish so that you could get the whatever you wanted. When one is not covetous and does not wish for others' wealth, etc., the mind is without ill will and has no hatred but wish for their safety and well-being. Like saying, may they be happy and be free from enmity, affliction, and anxiety. In the mental conduct section, thoughts, perceptions, views, and self are analyzed. First, the arising of a thought means the passive inner thinking, which is not visible to the outside world. This is not yet put into action. It's only a thought. This is a reference to the latent tendencies or anusaya, where the thought is still under the surface, not yet come up. The second stage is how we respond to the thought that had come. Having reflected on it, we think it's time to act on it. Now we have measured this thought and considered it worthwhile to come out to the open and put the thought into practice, hoping for gain colored by greed, that is lobha, hate, dosa, and delusion, moha. Adding to the experience in terms of I, me, mine, and myself. So it is this I, me, mine, and myself that makes the thought very of great value to the person. But we should not allow the mind to make negative karma. We should try and get rid of this kind of thought if it is a bad thought. Know it, see it, and let go of it. The third stage is when the idea becomes my view. Some people say, in my opinion, this is it. So that opinion is so very important to that person, which is a firmly settled thought that may give rise to a chain of past incidents, which we bring to the present, or it may be about a future that has not yet come. So that actually what happens is we lose touch with the present reality. You are no longer in the present. You are in the past or in the future. The final result is the acquisition of thought based on perception and views due to sensuous desire, love of continuing existence based on ignorance. We continue repeating the same mistake life after life. Acquisition of perception is when someone is covetous, has ill will, is cruel, and abides or lives with these perceptions that causes unwholesome states to increase and wholesome states to diminish. When we see this kind of person, we should not associate with him or her closely. Now, this does not mean that you should entirely cut off those people. You could, talk to them, try to change their views if possible, or just be silent when they talk, not taking those ideas inside. If someone is uncovetous and abides with one's perception detached from covetousness, is without ill will, and is uncruel, this causes unwholesome states to diminish and wholesome states to increase. Such a person, you see, it's safe to associate with. And you could become friendly. The next is acquisition of view. That's called ditti. You say ditti gata. in the text. When someone has a view that there is no result in giving. Now, there are some people who say, you only lose what you have by giving, right? So, don't give, only take. So, no result in giving. Being charitable, offering things to the needy. When one sacrifices things, there is no result. No fruit of good and bad actions. Good actions will bring good result. Bad actions will bring bad result. But some people say there is no such thing. Does not believe in spontaneous rebirth, and that there are virtuous recluses in the world who have clairvoyance. Unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish in such a person who believes in these things, in such things that we have just now said. One who believes in the opposite view of things from the above state will have a view that causes wholesome states to increase and unwholesome to diminish. Now we come to acquisition of individuality, which means where one gets rebirth according to one's karma. The commentary explains that there are 4 kinds of individual existence. 1, subject to affliction. That is, the worldling, whose unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish from birth till death, so that no higher states could be attained in that existence. Because from the time that that person is born, he goes from, that whatever he is born with, he goes increasing the unwholesome until death. Then the second person is, even those who have attained to spiritual states, like Sotapanna, once returner, non-returner, you see, as they have not completely abandoned all unwholesome states, have not yet attained full liberation. Therefore, it says, the commentary says, even the non-returners still have craving for being. An example is given like this, where they have mansions like in the Brahma world, and they go on saying, oh, what joy, what a joy. So that is because of the mansion that they have. So if they had completely liberated, they wouldn't have, such joy in these normal things. Anyway, but it also states, that is the commentary states, even the non-returners still have craving for being, but also says that even worldlings, if able to attain liberation, are free from affliction. For example, they give Angulimala's case. I think all of you know about Angulimala, the serial killer. Are there people who are good to associate with? Now that is a question. At a certain period in our life, we too just followed the lead of others, especially maybe when we were in school, you see. But after hearing or seeing the Dhamma, we were led to the Dhamma. This does not mean that we have forgotten our worldly aspirations, but we have taken another path. From among the old associates, are there any who are willing to help me in the new path that I have chosen now? Now, that's a question that you ask yourself. Though we want to practice good habits, etc., changing our inner mind has to be done with effort, confidence, and faith. Who will help me to go a little forward in my journey? If you find that one group is not of much help, or they are trying to draw you back to your former lifestyle, you should not be sorry to part from them. They are called asappurisa. If the others are less in sila, samadhi, and panya, the Buddha has advised us to associate with them carefully. Buddha doesn't say don't associate, but carefully associate with them so that you know what you are doing and how far you can go with them. How do you recognize them? These asappurisas, how do you recognize them? They may break the 5 precepts easily, telling untruth, stealing whenever they can, you see, drinking and all kinds of things, right? They do not understand. Now, this is another that you can easily see. They do not understand gratitude. A sappurisa is known as katanyu katavedi. Katanyu katavedi. That is grateful for even a small act of kindness. Right? Looks after one's parents, teachers, etc. An asappurisa does not remember such acts. Now, I can give you an example of during the Buddha's time. There was a very old man who was, who very poor and old, who came to the Jetavana Vihara and was doing menial jobs like, sweeping the ground, collecting the trash and things like that. So one day Buddha saw him and asked the monks, is there anyone for whom, now his name was Radha, is there anyone who has who has been helped by Radha? Then Venerable Sariputta, none of the others spoke. Venerable Sariputta said, yes, he has given me a spoonful of rice. Now see what a little thing it is. But he could remember it after a long time, he could still remember it. Then Buddha said, then you are the one who should ordain him. And actually, Venerable Sariputta ordained him and advised him, and he became an arahant. So none of us must be, must give up. We must try, all of us. Ask yourself, can I see my own faults? Can I correct them? Or else, are you humble enough to accept them when another points them out? If so, you are a wise person. That's why it's necessary to associate with noble friends. In this journey, we see and correct our mistakes and go forward. Buddha has told once in one of the suttas, Venerable Ananda comes and tells the Buddha, Bhante, this sasana depends on sort of is due to, like, responsible the sasana by having noble friends. That noble friends you should have noble friends, and our sasana depends halfway on noble friends. Then the Buddha said, no, Ananda, don't say that. This sasana fully depends on noble friends. So you can see that this is a journey where noble friends are also very important. Venerable Sariputta spoke about the outer sources of our associations regarding wholesome and unwholesome states. Now, I told you at the beginning itself that the Buddha just gave a brief, very brief idea about all these things. But Venerable Sariputta expanded on it, right? So now what he did was to give about the wholesome and unwholesome states regarding outer sources, right, of our association. Now he deals with the internal sources, that is, the 6 sense bases. You know the 6 sense bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and our senses, right? And their objects. Now the object of the eye is not the object of the nose. Every sense has its own object. So now he takes these internal, they are called internal sources. According to the Buddha, we are only our sense faculties and their objects. So what Buddha says is, we think that there is a person here, a self here, very important and all that, but actually we are only the sensors and their objects. We build an outer world with these senses and their actions using lust, hatred, and delusion. See, each time we make something, we use one of these things, either lust or, greed, lust, right, or hatred or delusion. So we do not see their reality. That is, what is the reality? Impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. We don't see those things. We think there is self. These are just views and ideas we have made in our minds and believe they are real, so that we are unable to see the truth. The truth is what? Impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self.
No self.
The unwholesome sense experiences create these wrong views and increase our ego. If we can avoid the negative qualities of greed, hatred, and ignorance, and increase the positive like generosity, loving friendliness, and wisdom, we would be able to practice sense restraint. Instead of giving in to all our sense desires, we would practice the restraint of the senses. And thus gain control over our body, speech, and mind. The final communication was about our external supports like clothing, food, shelter, and the places and people that we associate with. Now, this is true about monastics as well as lay. Often we forget that we eat, clothe, find shelter, and take medicine in order to live. Very often we forget that, isn't it? So that we do all that just to live. We think we live to use those things, right? Also, that we should live and grow, not simply in age, but develop our spirituality in the path. It is important that we choose the correct companions and also an ideal place where we could find space and quiet and peace. Thank you. Shall we do a little meditation? Now, the first thing is to sit comfortably, relaxed, but upright. You see, from the spine up the neck, the head, so that your breath can move freely. Now we begin by taking several long, gentle, deep breaths, letting your body relax. Then, now, allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm. That is, you have a certain rhythm of either a long breath or a short breath, the in breath and the out breath, right? It could be long, it could be short, it doesn't matter. Normal way of breathing. Now we'll spend the first few minutes just looking at the breath, just seeing the breath moving in and out. As you watch, you will be developing concentration. Calming the mind. It will be easier when you think of it as in, the in breath, out, the out breath. Just look at it. In, out, in, out, in, out. Now, when you are looking like this at your breath, you will find that in certain places of your body, there are different sensations, and sometimes they call your attention to that place. If that happens, do not worry, do not try to stop it, but just let your mind go there and see what's going on. Only see, not liking, not disliking, but just look at the itchiness, maybe tightness, warmth, some such thing that may be a little negative, but you must not worry about it. Just see it. Now, bring your sensation, whatever sensation you were called to see, under your mindfulness microscope. You are using this mindfulness microscope, and now you see the parts of the sensation. Just look at the sensation and see what are the qualities of the sensation. Are they, is that sensation giving me pain? Is it giving me happiness? Is it making me uncomfortable? Like that, you may notice sometimes the temperature of now even here, it's a little warm now. So, or you might feel the pulsing of the body, the pulse. Sometimes the movement. Now, the sensation might be telling you that now it is changing. Whatever happened at the beginning has now gone its way, and now it's changing to a different aspect. Now just in your mind, use words that you might use to, as if you are describing it to another. The sensation is changing from a lot of warmth to normal, or from becoming tight and uncomfortable. Now it is changing to just ordinary, as if there is nothing there. Now that was a physical sensation. Whatever you experience may be a physical sensation. What other feelings or thoughts did you add to this sensation? Did you add anything like, it's giving me, or it's taking me away from my breath, or it is giving me a pain, or it is some such thing? It's, it's disturbing. Any feeling or thought that came to you? Are you being judgmental, judging the feeling, judging the sensation? So stop that and then just look at it, just see it as it is. Don't get involved in the, sensation and what it has caused, whatever feeling or thought. If that sensation has now disappeared, now see that also. Can you see the change that has taken place? The change. Now in our body, all the time this kind of change happens, but we don't see. So now we are very observant, mindful, so we can see. Now, if everything has become normal, bring back your focus to the breath. Stay with the breath until you get another sensation or some other, some other kind of feeling that you get with your body and mind. Don't make yourself restless or, doubtful. Don't let these hindrances come. You know what the hindrances are, don't you? Lustful thoughts, or greedy thoughts, or hateful thoughts, or restlessness, or doubt, or even a sense of sleepiness. Don't let any of these, not let, but don't give in to them. If they come, see it. That's all. If any of them come. Now slowly and mindfully look at your breath and how it uh, affects your mind and body. And slowly we will stop for the moment. Do you feel comfortable and calm? Have you any questions to ask? No question? Then let us then stop for the time being, and maybe next week, in 2 weeks, we will discuss another sutta. Thank you for being here.